unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live boxing ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live. You good looking. I say, God dang, what a rush. What movie is that from? Shakur Stevenson has rejected a William Zepeda fight. He has turned down the current William Zepeda fight, says Oscar. I do believe he makes a strong, I do believe, De La Hoya. And in this video, your boy Ego, we gonna talk about it. Marvelous. Now, there is trouble in paradise. You guys see on the screen, Oscar De La Hoya says, after all that ish talking, Shakur Stevenson, and he tagged him. So he put a name on it. After all that ish talking, Shakur Stevenson pulls out of a William Zepeda fight. Oscar De La Hoya. Shakur responded to this crying emoji. Is that what they told you? Turki promised me a number, and now he's going way back on that number that he promised me and sending his towel boys to run me the info instead of telling me straight up what he trying to do. I don't bow down to nobody, Mr. De La Hoya. Now let's negotiate. Wow. So you can already see Shakur Stevenson is setting his terms. He's saying, I was told a number, and now he's trying to renege on that number. And now he's trying to offer me a different lower number, and that's not going to fly. Shakur also says, the fight is ordered by the WBC. I'm still champion and aren't pulling. That sounds crazy. And aren't pulling out of anything. If we can't reach a deal, then purse bid it is. See you soon. Right? Edwin De Los Santos, this is separate. I think this was to Keyshawn. He says the invisible contract does not arrive, champ. So that whole little camp, Shakur, Keyshawn, it looks like they got some stuff going on. Shakur says, oh yeah, and I'm not done negotiating because one thing about me and one thing about it, I'm the champ. So whether the fight gets done with these people or not, I'm stepping on dude, but the fight will be made next. So he says whether it gets done with these people or not, real men stand up, never bow down to nobody but the creator. Wow. He goes on to say, the crazy thing is, on my soul, I would cook dude so badly, he's a mismatch. I want this fight so bad that these dudes want to take advantage of me by giving me way less than I got for Joshua Padley fight just because they know how bad I want it. You hate to see it. So this is coming from, I showed you, Oscar De La Hoya, and then Shakur Stevenson is responding. So Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, he's clapping at Shakur saying, you don't want the fight. He pulled out the fight. Now, I will say this in Shakur's defense. What Shakur is saying to me makes a bit more sense in terms of Oscar De La Hoya is like a 50-year-old, I don't know how old he is, whatever, but he's like a grown man, right? I know he's older than me, right? So Oscar De La Hoya is a grown man, and if you want to make the Shakur Stevenson fight, why make it a public issue? You got to question this. Why make it a public issue and run to social media like a Gen Zer and tell everybody that he don't want to fight. You know what I mean? It looks like clout chasing. It looks like publicity for me, because if you really want to do business, part of business, like Shakur is saying, is to negotiate, right? There's like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Those two sides were not on the same page at all. I know this from a source, right? It was pretty documented as well, but I talked to somebody that told me, right? Errol Spence had to make concessions that aligned with what Crawford thought he was worth in order to make that. So, had Errol Spence not been so giving, then the fight probably wouldn't have gotten made, because Crawford's demands didn't match what the package being presented, right? So the point I'm making is there was a first negotiation. Bud pulled out, fought David Avocado. Then he came back to negotiations. They still were having problems, right? So there was some turmoil, some back and forth. Both negotiations. The first one just fizzled out. And then, like I said, Crawford fought David Avocado. The second time, there was still, they hammered out certain things, but then there were still some talking points that they weren't on the same page with. I know that for a fact, right? So the point I'm making is that comes with sometimes making fights. Different people are situated with different promoters, blah, blah. So for De La Hoya to immediately go to the public and then out Shakur Stevenson, I'm a content creator. It don't hurt me because I make content. I'm finna get paid off this video. So it doesn't hurt me, but it hurts you potentially if you're trying to do business with this person and then you're trying to roast him and insult him and out him. That's just not a great way, in my opinion, of trying to get a fight done, to immediately blabbermouth and run to the net. That's not how fights get done, and that's not how you bridge the gap. And I think Oscar De La Hoya is old enough and grown enough and been in the business long enough to know that. So it's a bit premature to just, in my opinion, to just jump on the net and say like, oh, he pulled out. Shakur's saying I'm still down to negotiate. I was offered a higher number, and this new number ain't that. This new number ain't that, right? So that's where the friction is. And he's like, hey, we could go to a purse bid, or, maybe these guys don't do the fight. Maybe we do it with somebody else. But Turki told me a number, and now, for whatever reason, it looks like he's trying to backtrack. Now, listen, I got to give y'all the business, bro. I got to give y'all the business because I'm really him. I'm really the best in this whole industry since boxing has started to now in the digital space. I am the best in the business, and it's not even close. If you listen to me and you stay on this side, you'll be on the right side of history more often than not. I say comes true. So regarding Turki Al-Sheikh, here's the thing. Some of the moves I've questioned, right? And it's not just from him directly. It's also from people in the media. People in boxing media, they cowered down, bowed down, and, immediately jumped on this bandwagon like Turki saving boxing. These are the greatest fights that we've ever seen. And it was just like, huh? Like, since boxing has started, this is the greatest card you've ever seen? Is that real? You know what I mean? And people did all this like, oh, Turki's saving boxing. He has unlimited funds, unlimited oil money, and it's just amazing. He has such an engine and a well-oiled machine with unlimited funds that he's going to be unstoppable, right? Money, 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 unlimited funds. This is what you guys told me. And I question that. I'm not doubting that Saudis have money. Everybody knows the Saudis and the kingdom has money. They obviously had to trick out a lot of money to get Canelo, right? However, I think people jumped over, they jumped into the deep end and they weren't ready to swim. So, for all the people in boxing media as well as fans that overstated, we'll say, this whole Turkey has unlimited money. Like, remember when Crawford Madrimov fight lost over $10 million on the event? They had to pay Eminem and they tried to, do this big promotion in LA, put him in a stadium. It was a loss. It was a loss leader. They lost money, right? And I made videos about it. You guys in the comment section were like, oh, Turkey, he doesn't care. He's willing to lose tens and $20 million. Remember the UFC at the Sphere lost a lot of money too, right? They had a crazy live gate, but then they had to put in a bunch of money. So you were better off doing a regular card, not in the UFC or not in the Sphere, right? Because it didn't even look good on camera to me. Like, I would have much rather a regular UFC show. I've seen, put it this way, you have the Sean O'Malley and his fight where he fought in the Sphere. I've seen better fights outside of the Sphere, because that's the only one at the Sphere, since that point, right? So in the last 12 months, that is not the illest UFC fight that we've seen, right? So you wasted money. So the point I'm making is you guys were all in on Turkey and said he saved boxing. He reinvented the game and unlimited funds. So what's up now? If you have unlimited money, how come Teofimo said that he was trying to fight Richardson Hitchens, but the problem came not in Richardson Hitchens wanting the fight, but Richardson Hitchens wanted as a champion to unify $2 million. He wanted $2 million to fight Teofimo Lopez in a unification that could have been on the same card as Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. It would have rounded out the triple header. But Teofimo says you wanted $2 million and Turkey didn't think you were worth that, right? So that was an early red flag, huh? Turkey not willing to pay Richardson Hitchens, a New Yorker who's a champion, right? Who fought in Puerto Rico, Liam Paro, to get his belt. You're not willing to pay him $2 million and pay Teofimo, but then you'll put Teofimo in with Arnold Barbosa, who's an even newer champion. And Barbosa, he's a good fighter, but he's a newer champion and he's a West Coast guy, right? Versus if you were doing a triple header in New York, Times Square, T.O. claims New York, Richardson Hitchens from New York. I feel like that's more of a New York fight. That's more of a New York deal, especially considering the fact that you're fighting in Times Square, right? If you're going to have a unification. So why did that fight fall apart over $2 million if Turkey has unlimited money? Like, this stuff is not adding up. Like, we got to really start questioning some of the decisions that are being made. See, I've been questioning it. You guys weren't. And now I think we're at that time. Because that money is starting to look funny under them lights. You don't have $2 million for Richardson Hitchens, but if it was me, I would have paid Richardson Hitchens. Pay him $2 million. Teofimo, pay him whatever you have to pay him. Then you have two New Yorkers on the New York card. That makes more sense. So these decisions feel very weird to me that Turkey is making. You got Canelo, who was about to fight Jake Paul. You get in the way of it and block it. And then you pull him from a massive Vegas fight, which would have done numbers, against Jake Paul, to put him in Saudi Arabia to fight William Skull. And then your grand plan that you have to pay Canelo probably $100 million per fight and you're paying him this much for William Skull, right? And then Crawford, a guy that's a great fighter, but he's not even of the weight class, and we've never seen him compete at the weight class. It just seems like a stretch. Seems like such a weird, ridiculous fight that no one really requested, right? So these moves are just seeming very weird. Now, Shakur Stevenson, he was supposed to fight Schofield, but it's not his fault that Schofield got injured or sick or whatever in Saudi Arabia. Weird circumstance, how it all played out. They said they can't say too much, whatever. It's not Shakur's fault. He fought the electrician. That's who I would have rather see him fight Javier Herrera. But you guys found him who you found him, and he stopped Josh Padley. He was an undefeated fighter. He stopped the electrician. Again, I don't think that means so much. Another weird move from Turki and this Riyadh season Turkey organization or whatever was to put, and Golden Boy, to put William Zepeda in with Tevin Farmer. I told you I'm really the best in the business. Listen, if you listen to what I say, and then later on when I'm like, told you so, it's because I told you so. You guys could go back to the videos where I said these things. I told you guys Tevin Farmer was a bad, this is before they fought the first time. I said it was a bad fight if the goal was to put Zepeda with Shakur Stevenson. Why would you put him in with a potential spoiler type of person like Tevin Farmer, who stylistically was always going to give Zepeda issues? Zepeda's like a volume guy, not much on the defense. You know what I mean? It don't make sense to fight a tricky former champion southpaw with defense. You're better off fighting like a tune-up style, somebody that keeps your confidence high, and then fighting Shakur Stevenson. But no, Golden Boy, Turkey, Riyadh season, Latino nights, all that. They went against what I said, right? Put him in with Tevin Farmer. What happened? I thought Tevin Farmer won the first fight. He certainly dropped William Zepeda, and William Zepeda's stock dropped. Then the same people, Oscar, Golden Boy, Ring, Riyadh season in Turkey, partner up again to do the rematch because he didn't convincingly beat Tevin Farmer the first time and he got dropped. Then you put it in Mexico to give him the maximum advantage. Tevin Farmer has a bum arm from probably like the first or second round and somehow wins the back half of the fight. And ultimately, there were moments where it looked like Tevin Farmer hurt Zepeda again later in the fight. So it really wasn't a great showing. I'm okay with William Zepeda winning the second fight because Tevin Farmer, he only had one operable arm. So, there were some rounds where he probably couldn't do as much as he wanted, and he did get touched up, and, he got hit with some big shots and things like that. But either way, Tevin is saying he won the second fight too. I don't necessarily agree with that, but it was close. And Zepeda, if he is who they said he is, he probably should have looked better because Tevin Farmer has been stopped before and he had one arm, and somehow, some way, you let the fight be that close with a compromised one-armed Tevin Farmer. So now we're getting to the Shakur Stevenson thing. Shakur fought Padley, right? And, you probably see the feedback from that, Turkey. And then you have Zepeda, who's had now 2 fights with a slickster in Tevin Farmer, and he hasn't looked so great, and he got dropped in one of the fights, arguably lost one or both of the fights. Now it sounds like Turkey's trying to renege on the amount of money that he probably told Shakur Stevenson he was going to get for a fight with Zepeda. So, unless Shakur is lying, based on the information available, I understand where Shakur is coming from. Because, listen, I'm a businessman. You know that because you find me at my places of business. If somebody tells me, hey, I want to hire you for a filming gig, here's the contract, here's how much you'll make. And we agreed to that amount. And then that time comes, and then I look at it again, and you say, oh, yeah, about the same gig, we want to offer you less than what we said. That's not going to fly with me either. So if that is in fact true, what Shakur is saying, then he has a very valid point. Zepeda's stock dropping, that's because he fought Tevin Farmer and didn't look spectacular. Has nothing to do with Shakur Stevenson. So if you said, hey, Shakur will give you, I'm just throwing a number out, $8 million to fight Zepeda, and then Zepeda can't keep his stock high, and you still want to make the fight, and then now you're like, hey, we'll give you the fight, we'll give you 3.5 million. No, you told me 8. So if that's the case, then Shakur has a point. You know, some people are going to say Shakur is ducking like De La Hoya. Just to be honest, from what I've seen in the two Tevin Farmer fights, Zepeda is not beating Shakur Stevenson. My thing is this. When I do a fight prediction or analyze a fight, I go into it with the mindset of both fighters had a good camp, they're healthy, they're capable, no one pops dirty, like things that I don't know. You know what I mean? So I'm just assuming the best trained version of Shakur, the best trained version of William Zepeda, Shakur is going to beat him, bro. There's nothing that Zepeda showed me in the two Tevin Farmer fights that suggests otherwise. Now, you could argue that Tevin Farmer, he's just tough, and Shakur don't fight like Tevin Farmer. But here's the thing. Shakur fight like Shakur, and he don't get hit that much. He get hit probably less than Tevin Farmer statistically. Like if you look at plus minus and stuff. And he's more in prime than Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer had a long layoff. Who knows what was lost being out the ring for 2 years. Now, he's still a great fighter. Tevin Farmer is still a heck of a fighter. But he just came out and said he had Tourette's syndrome. He's older. He had the long, like, dry spell of inactivity. He's been stopped before. You know, just a different fighter. Shakur's in prime. He's fresh. And I'm not saying I give fair criticism, but I give praise too. That's how I work on my channel. I'm not saying it'll be an exciting fight or scintillating fight, because against that style, Shakur would probably just fight to win and, you know, be risk adverse. So unless there's like mad openings. But Zepeda just looked too one-dimensional. He throw a lot. That's it. He got power and he throw a lot. I think Shakur is good with that style all day. You know what I mean? Because I think Oscar Valdez on paper is more dangerous because he a little bit more slippery. He's a 2-time Olympian. William Zepeda is just like up and down, straight up and down, no special effects. Powerful and he got volume. Good combinations of volume. No defense. He doesn't have a legendary chin. Like, he got dropped by Tevin Farmer, who's not even a huge puncher. So, I don't know. We'll see if we get this fight next. You know, it seems to be trouble in paradise. Shakur is seemingly taking shots at Turki. He's like, I don't bow down to nobody. But it's this whole thing is funny to me because I keep saying I'm the best, and I show you I'm the best. Shakur Stevenson, he like, I don't bow down to nobody. And Turki sending his henchmen to relay messages instead of him himself. Like, partly you got to blame Shakur for that, because Shakur, you could have signed the PBC and Al Heyman and try to get the Tank fight, but you entered free agency, and this is the people you partnered with. You did a multi-fight deal with Eddie Hearn, and You started working with Turkey and sitting by Turkey ringside and all that. Now you talking about he don't want to pay you. So it's just looking bad for this whole thing. And my question to y'all is, y'all in the comment section said I was wrong, and you said Turkey, he destroying everybody, and there's no competition because he got unlimited money. But we're finding out, and I also feel Turkey, his energy changed a bit when he partnered with Dana White and they announced that TKO boxing. Like, I don't know if he's trying to venture more that way, where TKO boxing and that partnership is like kind of where his focus will be. But that's what it kind of seems like. Because why would you offer Shakur Stevenson a certain amount of money and then change it? Shakur keeps winning. Zepeda allegedly won. Why would the ticket go down? You know what I mean? I thought Tevin Farmer won the first fight, but they gave it to Zepeda. So Zepeda's still undefeated. Shakur's still a champion. Shakur still beat an undefeated guy and got a knockout with the electrician, blah, blah, blah. So why would the price go down for the fight? Like, something of this is not making any sense. Then they spoke out saying that it was going to be an unlimited crowd. Oscar de la Hoya said it. Unlimited crowd for the triple header with Ryan Garcia and Devin and Tio. Now they're talking about invite only. So they got a lot of miscommunication and just information being put out, and you guys were praising it. And it looks like they're having some issues now with Turkey. It's like more than meets the eye, right? Before it was just like the money's free flowing. Turkey got all the money to pacify and get these fights going. It's the best versus the best. But now the mask is starting to slip, and we're starting to see that some of what was said is not true. Like David Benavidez is owed a shot at Dimitri Bivol, but then Turkey came out and put out a statement almost threatening Bivol, like basically, you know who's taking care of you, make the right choice. You know, and seemingly trying to get in the way to push for better be of Bivol 3 and not have a PBC fighter like David Benavidez get the opportunity for undisputed with Dimitri Bivol. So I hope that's not the case and they can get that Bivol and Benavidez cracking, because I don't really even want to see better be of Bivol 3. Like, I've seen it twice back to back. It was cool, but bring in some new blood. I want to see Benavidez get a shot. Canelo already didn't want to fight him and fronted him off to fight William Skull and everybody else under the sun. Let my boy David Benavidez get his just due. You know what I mean? So these next coming months are going to be very interesting. You know, I do want to see Shakur versus Zepeda. Like, again, from what I've seen, I got to pick Shakur on that. My thing is this. The only way Shakur, to me, would lose that fight is if he had hand issues and he was compromised in the fight and then Zepeda, like, overwhelmed him. But again, I don't just go into fights assuming the worst, like that, oh, he's going to guarantee to have a, I think that's a bad way to plan. Like, to plan that, oh, Shakur Stevenson's hand's going to give him problems in every fight. I don't think that's realistic. You got to think of the best Shakur and the best William Zepeda. And the best Shakur beats the best William Zepeda to me because he looks too one-dimensional. That's just being real. Edwin De Los Santos, that's different. The reason he gave so many problems to Shakur and had Shakur fighting a certain way is not just power, is he's a fast, twitchy fighter, and he's athletic, and he was pretty quick. Zepeda is not fast, twitchy per se. He's not that quick from what I've seen. He's powerful, plotting combination guy that does a lot of volume. But we all know in boxing, the more you throw, the more you can be countered. And Shakur is a great with distance control and distance management, and he's good. He's good with counterpunching. So, yeah, I have to agree with Shakur. He's like, I'll believe I'll cook this dude, but they're trying to take advantage of me. If they offered him a certain amount and then they try to change it, then yeah, he got to get that situated. But hopefully they'll get the fight cracking. Let me know what you guys think. We unpacked